In a new interview on Newsmax with host Greg Kelly, Jill Biden's ex-husband, Bill Stevenson, accused the Biden crime family of bullying and tormenting former President Donald Trump in the exact same way they bullied him during his divorce from Jill back in the 1970s. That was nearly 50 years ago. He goes on to say that it continued for over 30 years. The guy has a story to tell. Let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So this is just a little glimpse into the character of the Biden crime family with Sleepy Joe playing the Godfather. If nothing else, what you're about to hear testifies to the fact that the Biden crime family are a bunch of low-life thuggish scumbags that you wouldn't want living next door to you. The ex-husband told Kelly that Joe Biden's brother Frank approached him during his divorce from Jill. Frankie Biden of the Biden crime family, he said, comes up to me and he goes, "Give her the house or you're going to have serious problems." He went on saying, "I looked at Frankie and said, 'Are you threatening me?' Needless to say, about 2 months later, my brother and I were both indicted for a tax charge of $8,200. Let's just give a little bit of the interview a quick listen so that you can get into understanding the character of Joe Biden.
And we're back with Delaware businessman Bill Stevenson, who, yes, as we mentioned in the previous block, was married to the current First Lady, Jill Biden, back in the 1970s. Now, they got divorced, and you know what led up to the divorce, but it was actually somewhat amicable. But then things got very hot for Bill Stevenson in Delaware, hot in a bad way. Now, Bill, if you don't mind, let me take us through this. The Stone Balloon is the place that you ran, an amazing kind of legendary pub in Wilmington. All kinds of great music acts showed up there, Bruce Springsteen and others. Now, at one point, you got in trouble in 1982. But when people see this, let's go through the some court papers here. On April 21st, 1982, defendants were arraigned in this court for failing to make payments to the account for the first quarter of 1982. You're the defendant along with your brother. The first quarter of 1982, failing to make payment. How much money was not paid? $8,266. Now, this is federal court, and you were charged with a felony. And this is in April of 1982 for the first quarter. Just to review, January, February, and March, 3 months make a quarter, and you were charged in April. Bill Stevenson, I've never heard of something happening quite so fast. It seems like maybe they were out to get you.
You think?
What do you think? Yeah.
Listen, this was devastating, and I'll tell you how it happened. We went to court because Jill turned down $1 million settlement from me. She was about 22, going on 23. We were only married 4 years at that point. We're in this vicious divorce trial. I turn around, try to make it as easy as possible for her. I give her her Corvette. I provide a townhouse for her. I did everything I could
Nice guy.
to make sure that she was happy because I still cared about her. And to this day, I still care about her, to be perfectly honest, and everybody around me knows that. My problem is with Joe Biden. What he did was, right before the divorce trial, he switched his law firms to his old law firm, a gentleman named Melvin Monson. For 3 days, they bashed me. They bashed me in front of the IRS. They bashed me in front of the Department of Justice. And I said, what in the world and why is this happening? The bottom line is I won everything. I had given her quite a bit, and they ruled that her education at that point, which was her master's degree going on to the doctorate degree, that she had enough. She actually owed me a little bit of money at the end of the court thing.
Can you imagine that? She owed him money. Unbelievable. Stevenson married Jill while she was still in college in 1970, and he believes that the charges were thrown at him by Joe Biden, who was then a young senator from Delaware. What a prick. He added, quote, "I could not believe the power of Joe Biden and the Department of Justice. I couldn't believe it." So Stevenson gets a felony charge with his brother because the IRS said that they missed a quarter of payments, which is unheard of to get a felony charge for that. The ironic part that I want to remind everybody of is that Hunter Biden, Stevenson's ex-wife's stepson, has only been charged with 2 misdemeanors for a whopping $2.2 million in back taxes, while Stevenson and his brother were charged with 2 felonies for less than $10,000 in unpaid taxes. Folks, this lends credence to my argument that the Democrats have been thugs for decades. They used to just hide it in the darkness and then threaten people to not say anything. Think of the Clintons, right? And I always thought to myself, you know, once they realize that when they are in power, nothing is going to happen to them, that if they would do it blatantly and openly, that would change our society for the worse and that we would be in serious trouble. And that's exactly where we are today. Stevenson went on to say, I was on the wrong side of them, and they have literally come after me for 35 years in a row, one little thing after another. He then told Kelly, referring to Donald Trump, quote, I can't let them do this to a president that I love and respect. I can't let them do this to our country. It does start to show a pattern now, doesn't it? The Biden crime family wanted to get out from under this guy when Joe's new girlfriend was getting divorced, and he used the power of the government to screw over a personal enemy. Now, 50 years later, he has more power than any man in the entire world, and it seems like every time new accusations of criminal activity come out about Hunter leading to Joe, when it gets some sunshine spread on it, Joe is then sicking the DOJ and the FBI on Trump with even more indictments because he has to get out from under Trump for the 2024 election. This makes Joe a low-life sleazeball to use the FBI and the DOJ as a personal hit squad against his number one opponent in the 2024 election because he knows that he's done such a shitty job to America that he's not going to win. Now, this is not the first time Stevenson went on a rant about his ex-wife and her husband. After Biden was declared the Democratic presidential nominee for 2020, Stevenson claimed that Jill and the then junior senator's relationship began as an affair. The official story, Jill and Joe met on a blind date in 1974 after she was already divorced from Stevenson, seems to be bullshit. According to a 1977 story in the Morning News, that blind date was arranged by Frankie Biden, who knew Jill in college. According to court records, Stevenson and Jill divorced in 1975 following a heated settlement where the gold digger Jill wanted to take half of her soon-to-be ex-husband's wildly successful college bar near the University of Delaware. Joe Biden had the luxury of a fawning media throughout his entire political career. He was known as Lunchbox Joe, a senator from Delaware who really cared about the people. He cared about working class and middle class families. What you didn't hear all these years of stories like Bill Stevenson, and believe me, there are many more. Just look at how he bragged years later to the Council on Foreign Relations about how he bullied and strong-armed the Ukrainian president, who fired their prosecutor general, Viktor Shokin, who was investigating Burisma Holdings and Joe's son Hunter, or he would leverage $1 billion in loan guarantees against him. The mainstream media should hang their heads in shame for allowing this man to get as far as he did. After all those years of grift and all those years of screwing people over who got in his way, Joe Biden went on to become president and is harming tens of millions of American lives in the process. He needs to be impeached as soon as possible. And if that doesn't happen, he cannot win 2024 because I don't think the country can survive it. We're barely hanging on now. I know it and you know it, even if you don't want to admit it, liberals. All right, so that's it. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.